Welcome into a brand new edition of the Lucas and Lucas podcast. Lucas Frankel alongside Mike Lucas. We will get to the Cleveland Browns quarterback battle. Shedeur Sanders turning heads, making a mockery of all those character concerns that were a huge issue leading up to the draft and caused him to fall all the way to round five. We will get to Darius Garland undergoing toe surgery and what it means for the Cleveland Cavaliers this offseason. Will he be traded? Will he stay? What does it mean for Donovan Mitchell? What is going on with the Cavaliers assistant coaches? We will get to all of that, but we begin on this show with what in the God's green earth is going on with the New York Knicks head coaching search. They fired Tom Thibodeau and have seemingly proceeded to request permission to interview every single current head coach of the NBA, only be denied by every single team. So, Mike, I'll let you go first here. What is going on with the New York Knicks right now? They fired Tom Thibodeau and seemingly have no plan about what they're doing from here.
Yeah, we talked about this last week, and I understood the thought process behind wanting to move on from Tibbs, but to move on from a guy who had the success he has had in New York without some sort of clear plan beneath it, to me now makes it seem so much worse. Like to go 0 for 5. Oh, I'm getting a phone call, Frank. Hold on. Hey, Leon? No, I don't want to interview for the job either. Okay.
No, no, no.
Yeah, okay.
You're doing
They're
it
over.
wrong. No, no, no. You're
They're
doing
they're
it
over,
wrong.
they're 0 for
You, no,
6 now,
you're doing
Frank,
it
on
wrong. No, no,
attempting
no. They're not
interviews.
asking. They're not asking the candidates if they're interested. So that the correct way to do it would be like if Leon Rose were to call whoever your boss is at the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show and be like, "Dear Mr. Jones, can we please interview Mike for our head coaching position?"
Yeah,
That
well,
they wouldn't
because
go through you.
the chain of events is a lot different at UCSS, so they just call me
Oh,
directly. But in reality, when you move on from Tibbs,
by the
you
way,
either have to have,
that was about a 1 out of 10. You failed.
yeah, well, you try some, you lose some. You can't win them all. You you have to have a plan, and whether it's you've already had these back channel communications with someone like Jason Kidd or an Ime Udoka, or you're in love with an up and coming head coaching prospect, someone who hasn't had a head coaching job yet, a la Johnny Bryan or someone else, like that has to be in place because now not only do you swing and miss and look like a fool publicly, Frank, if you turn to a Johnny Bryant, I'm just going to use there could be any name. I'm just using him as an example. How's he going to feel? Like, hey, we fired Tibbs and we called about 7 other guys. They all turned us down. You really were an eighth candidate. We're gonna come to you now because we don't.
You want my answer?
Yeah.
So let's say he's making $700,000 as a
Oh, I
Cavaliers,
mean, yeah. Money changes the whole
and he
equation.
says we're going to pay you $13 million to be the head coach of the New York Knicks. I feel pretty freaking good. How about you? How would you feel?
Yeah. Listen, they're gonna take the job. I'm just saying it's not a great way to start off a relationship with a head coach when it's
But
pretty evident
you can
he's
easily make
either
up for it with
fifth,
money.
sixth, seventh option.
But you can easily make up for it with money. But anyway, so I have a theory. So clearly, I think this was all a doing of James Dolan. Clearly, for whatever reason, he decided that Tom Thibodeau should not be the coach of this team, and he, as the owner of the team, has every right to make decisions like that. And I don't necessarily disagree with the fact that I don't think that Tibbs was the coach that can lead this team to a championship. I think that there's things that are fundamentally flawed with him in terms of his stubbornness, unwillingness to adjust, lack of trust in the bench, and you're seeing that right now pay off in the NBA Finals with essentially these games being decided by unheralded players that aren't the forefront guys in the team. But that's beside the point. I think that Leon Rose is way too smart to just make himself look like an idiot and call all these teams and ask about the availability of their coaches. I think there's clearly a struggle here going on within the Knicks front office where there was an argument. I believe that there was an argument between Tibbs or not Tibbs, Leon Rose and James Dolan, where James Dolan was like, "Listen, I don't want this guy. Get rid of him, and I guarantee you, Leon, that if you call any team in the NBA, that we can get any coach we want. I guarantee it." And then this is James Dolan going rogue. And Leon's like, all right, here's what I'm gonna do. You give me a list of 5 guys or 4 guys, however many guys that you think that you want to coach this team, and I will call those teams and see if we can get permission. And it will make it public, and you'll see, James, you'll see that none of these guys we're gonna get requested for. And then we're gonna look like idiots because you wanted to fire Tom Thibodeau, and then we're gonna look like the most inept organization ever. And James Dolan's probably like, yes, you're right, or I disagree. I guarantee you we'll get at least one. And Leon Rose stuck to his word, put in those requests, and got zero permissions to talk to these guys. Zero. And I think this is all a ploy by Leon Rose because if you're an executive of a team, why would you want all this information public? Clearly, this is a back channel move by Leon Rose communicating with the media through Shams or Shams, however you pronounce his name,
Shams.
to make his point about James Dolan screwing up the coaching position of the New York Knicks and firing Tom Thibodeau without a plan. This is all a ploy by Leon Rose to expose James Dolan even further.
I So a good conspiracy has merits of if that can be true. It's a good conspiracy theory, Frank. I just don't believe a front office member to the stature of Leon Rose would willingly sabotage a team that was just in the Eastern Conference Finals in the way that this is sabotaging a team that he built, that he helped put together. Like, you don't get many of these chances to have a roster that you feel is good enough to compete for a championship. I do believe that the New York Knicks believe they're damn close, if not there already, in terms of being able to compete for an NBA title. They were 2 games away from the finals this year. I know some things fell their way. They may be closer than I think they are. But I just can't imagine a guy like Leon Rose and Worldwide West and that front office just to make a point, say, yeah, you know what? We want to prove you wrong, James. We're going to publicly humiliate you to go through this and put ourselves in a negative situation where there's a good chance to take a giant step back next year. And when you're in the NBA conference finals, like your next step is to reach the finals, not go back to being a first round exit. So I like the conspiracy. I like where your mind's at. I don't necessarily buy it.
Really? Why not? What other theory do you have about? Because listen, like these coaches and these executives, like Leon Rose, are very smart. Like Leon Rose is extremely calculated in everything he does. He purposely does not make himself available to speak to
He does
anyone.
no media. Yeah.
So like he's one of the, and he's a former agent. He's very calculated and deliberate in everything he does. I can't think of another that because I don't everything I heard was that James Dolan was the one who pushed for this. James Dolan was the one who wanted to make these changes, and I just think that you're seeing a power struggle between those two play out here. I think I just can't think of another logical explanation. The Knicks aren't that as much as we like to believe that they're this incompetent organization. Like these people, and I mean, and you can say whatever you want about James Dolan, but James Dolan is the owner of arguably like the most one of the most valuable hockey teams. Has granted hasn't won a championship with the Knicks, but has taken them to places they haven't overseen, like the one of the most, I think, the most valuable franchise in the NBA. So like, say what you want about James Dolan, but
And the Sphere.
and the Sphere is the most, everyone wants to go to the Sphere, even though it's losing millions of dollars like a day. I just think that these people
Is
are
it
just,
really?
yeah, it's like a whole, it's crazy. It's like the operational cost. You would think that it's like the greatest moneymaker of all time. Just look it up.
I've only heard incredible things about it.
It's it's wild. I don't understand the whole. So in its first fiscal year, the Sphere incurred over 500 million in operating losses.
Sheesh.
The company's Sphere posted an operating loss of 125.1 million for the final quarter of 2024. It's like bleeding money. It's wild. Usually these things are astronomical money makers, but I listen, I don't know enough about the whole. I just seen the headlines and whatnot, and the Sphere is obviously a major hit and doing great. But I'm just telling you that this is the no, because you've never seen this before. You've never seen franchises put in this many requests to interview current coach. I've never seen it. Have you seen it?
No, and it's just funny that they're going after guys that they're not going to get. Like
Exactly, which is why
Ime Udoka was not leaving Houston, and
it's so deliberate. He's trying to. I'm telling you, Leon Rose is making a point at James Dolan. I've heard a lot about this situation. I've listened to a bunch of podcasts, read a bunch of articles, trying to wrap my head around exactly what's going on because it's just something fishy's going on. Because I'm telling you, Leon Rose is not that stupid. He's not. He's just not.
yeah,
I mean, I'm going to get you to believe it. I mean, you'll
like I said, there are elements that I do believe, Frank, which is the basis of any good conspiracy theory. I just can't believe that they made that move without some semblance of a plan in place. Like
Probably James Dolan went rogue. I mean, he has a tendency
it
to do that.
genuinely is hard to believe, and maybe that just is what it is. Like he went rogue and went off on his own. But man, it's a tough look if you're a Knicks fan because you have a team that was one of the final four teams in the NBA. You have a coach that had had more success in the last 2 years than they've had in any back-to-back seasons in 2 decades. You fire him, and all the guys that you think are clear-cut upgrades, right? That they're going for guys that, at least on paper, clear-cut upgrades from Tibbs. They've all said, no, thank you. And now the list of guys you're left with, Frank Vogel, Mike Malone, any of these new up-and-coming guys, are either complete unknowns or guys who are valued and probably on the same tier, same plane as Tibbs. And then you go, well, was it worth firing a guy if it's not an upgrade? Who the hell knows, Frank? We're going to find out. But it's certainly a very interesting and unique storyline to follow because I can't remember any coaching search in any sport go quite like this.
Did you see Tom Thibodeau's ad in I believe, the New York
I
Times?
did. I
And
did.
and you notice there was no mention of ownership. He thanked the fans, he thanked the city, but no mention of the ownership, which I was
Or the front office.
or the front office. So I did not find that to be a coincidence at all. And
Yeah.
listen, it's one of those things that's never going to be. They're never going to admit it. Leon Rose he's not a guy that's he's never going to be in a situation where he has to answer questions about this. So it's never going to be proven true or not. But I'm just telling you, it's the most logical explanation because it never happens in sports. It just never does. But anyway, you'll see. Elsewhere in the NBA, we will get. I promise the viewers, we will get to Darius Garland. It's coming. We
I've
will
talked
get.
about it enough, Frank. We don't have to rehash it today. We've had 3 different extra podcasts. We've talked about it on the show. If anyone wants to hear my legitimate Darius Garland thoughts, you can find them anywhere on the UCSS channel.
All right, I promise we'll get to Darius Garland. But the NBA was getting criticized left and right for this NBA Finals going into it. Pacers, Thunder, arguably the two smallest markets in the whole entire league. Everyone thought it'd be a mismatch, that the Thunder, if everything went horribly wrong, would probably win in 5 games for them. But here we are after 3 games, and the Pacers have a 2 games to 1 lead. I'm sitting there watching the game on Wednesday night, just waiting for the Pacers to crumble and the Pacers to give up that trademark, 26-2 run for the Thunder. But it never happened. And you look up late in the fourth quarter, and all of a sudden, Pacers are walking out there with the win. And I can't believe how much of a huge win this is for the NBA because the worst nightmare would have been a Thunder 4 or 5 game series and the NBA just getting ripped for the lack of competitiveness in the finals. But it's almost like the Thunder are like purposely losing these games because it's so hard to believe that this Pacers team, who no one really gave a chance to beat the Cavs, who were, that first shot or that last shot by Halliburton, end of regulation in game 1, from losing to the Knicks, and here they are, just 2 wins away from a championship. It's so shocking. It's like at every step, you just felt like they were one snap of a finger away from just falling off the face of the earth, but they just get up every single time. They don't die, and they're like cockroaches. And they're if they win the championship, that's like I saw it'd be like the most unlikely upset since like the '07 Giants in terms of
Yeah.
preseason odds. It's insane what's going on.
Yeah, I don't give a rat's bottom about what's good or not good for the NBA. Like, this is good basketball because it's not 2 big cities. If the ratings are down, we're never going to win that battle. Like, it'll never be the same ratings as in New York, LA. Indiana, Oklahoma City will never have that appeal. But from a purely basketball perspective, this has been an incredible series so far. You had the game 1 comeback. Game 2, OKC looked like the regular season team that put up historical numbers on the defensive end of the court and had a crazy all-time good net rating and average margin of victory. And then in Game 3, on Indiana's home court, winner of Game 3 in a 1-1 series often ends up winning the series, even though in the NBA Finals, that hasn't always historically been the case. It was an incredible back and forth affair. And Indiana, for whatever reason, Frank, and I don't have an explanation, it's one of those intangible things you can't put a finger on, you can't quantify. There's not a statistic that says they're better because they do this. They just have that it factor right now. The way they are unwilling and unrelenting in the fourth quarter to wear down and hound and harass the opponent. They gassed out the Cavs. The Cavs did everything right in the regular season in terms of load management, minutes restrictions, trying to keep guys fresh for the playoffs. It didn't matter. Indiana wore them down. The Knicks were the complete 180 opposite of the Cavs. They played their starters 40 plus minutes a game. Mikal Bridges played all 82. Tibbs never uses his bench. Guess what? In the playoffs, they got wore down by the Indiana Pacers. And in game 3 last night, despite playing 10 guys for legitimate minutes, SGA and Caruso and Holmgren and Dort looked gassed at the end of the game, Frank. I can't put a finger on it. The pace which Indiana plays with, for whatever reason, is sustainable to them and unsustainable by others. And in game 2, I thought OKC did a much better job of disrupting Indiana's pace, and that's why they were, frankly, a little bit fresher down the stretch. In game 1, they were up 15 points with 9 minutes to go, and I'm not saying they lost because they lost their legs, but just like Cleveland, just like Milwaukee, just like New York, started missing some shots short late. SGA's final 2 shots, one was short, one hit back rim. Could it be because he had some extra fatigue from playing against this Indiana pace? I don't know, Frank. All I know is I can't remember ever in my history watching the NBA a team wear out 3 separate opponents in 3 separate styles like Indiana has done right now. And it is incredible to watch. And I still think, and I'll die on the hill, that OKC is going to win this series because I just can't fathom Indiana somehow winning 2 more games. But I'll be the first one to come up here and say, hand up, my bad. I was clearly dead wrong because what Indiana's doing right now is special.
So I don't know if you've seen the odds. Have you seen the current series odds?
I actually have not looked today.
If you had to guess what are they?
So when they played the Cavs were literally favorites to win the series, even down 3-1. I'm going to guess it's probably like to win the series.
Yeah, to win the
OKC
series.
minus 275.
So it's Thunder minus 230, Pacers plus 190.
Yeah, like I still think OKC's the better team, but I mean, yeah, but Indiana, like, I'm like speechless, Frank. It makes almost no sense. It genuinely
So I
makes
have
almost
I have
no
an
sense.
explanation then because listen, it's really really hard to win a championship, and it's so rare, especially when a team has never been there and done that, to see those teams just coast through and win a champion. It almost is unprecedented, like in the history of the NBA.
Almost never happens. Yeah,
So like the Thunder, this is like, I mean, I believe they were in the playoffs last year, but they weren't really like a championship threat last.
they
This
were
is
the
like,
1 seed last year, Frank.
were they?
Yeah, they lost to the Mavericks in the second round.
Okay, so but this is like their first like true
It's
like
their first deep playoff run. Yeah,
right. So like if you look at the history of the NBA, like the Bulls teams went through years of losing to the Celtics and the Pistons before they finally broke through. Like this is just par for the course. It's never easy to win. It's very rarely easy to win a championship, especially for a team who doesn't have a history of winning. And
but neither does Indiana.
right, but like Pascal, but they have Rick Carlisle as a championship coach, won a championship with the Mavericks. Pascal Siakam won a championship with
The
the
Thunder
Raptors.
have Caruso. He won
Yeah,
a
I mean,
championship.
but Caruso's like he's not a heart.
One of their 5 best players. He's on the court in crunch time. He played more than Siakam did last night.
But I think
Both teams have one guy that's won a championship. Like, sure, Carlisle has more experience than Dagnall. Yes. But it's not like Indiana's loaded with like I hear what you're saying. I do think experience matters, but this isn't Boston, who just won the championship last year, versus an up and coming. These are 2 teams that have a grand total of 2 guys. 2 guys in the series have played in an NBA Finals before. Both are 1-0 in the finals. There's no one in this series has ever lost the finals.
right. I mean, I think that we should have had maybe a more of a we as in everyone should have had a more toned down maybe expectation for the Thunder just rolling through and dominating for a team who's never been there and done that. Like I just think that the Heat in 2011, a team that everyone just assumed we were going to that Maverick series and just coast right through them and go on this dynastic run. I mean, and they ended up winning 2 championships in a row. But no matter how talented you were, no matter how much on paper you were better than the other team, like it doesn't necessarily just guarantee that you're just going to go through and roll through whoever you play. Like there's got to be. It's just not that. I don't think it rarely is that easy, and I think we're sort of seeing that here for the Thunder. If I had a gun on my head, I still think the Thunder win. But if they lose Game 4, I mean, man,
Whoever wins game 4 is winning the series.
I mean, yeah, I mean, probably, but we'll
I
see.
honestly feel that if Indy wins game 4, OKC's not winning 3 straight. If OKC wins game 4, takes home court advantage back, I can't see Indiana winning two of the three, one on the road, then one at home, or two on the road. I just can't see it.
So
Well, let me ask you one thing real quick, Frank. Last year, Celtics, Mavericks in the finals. Everyone picked the Celtics. It was an easy finals. Like I just think sometimes it looks like an easy finals and it turns out to be an easy finals because one team is just clearly better than the other. I think what Indiana's doing right now, and that's why I think it's just so hard to explain. It's they don't have way more experience. It's not like it's an old wily veteran team. I would argue they have less talent. I would argue what they do, OKC does slightly better. Like they play a frenzy style. OKC plays with more of a frenzy. They have more guys who are more proven than Indiana. But Indiana, guys like Nemhard and Neesmith and Toppin are McConnell. They're playing Matherin, like they're playing out of their minds right now in ways that if I had told you, hey, you're gonna get the best stretch in the entire career of four of your top six guys and neither of your top two guys. And we could argue Halliburton, but whatever. Like you get my point. They're all going to have the best stretch of their entire careers in the conference semifinals, the conference finals, and the NBA finals right now, all at once. Not one of them, but four of the top six guys. You'd be like, oh, yeah, we can win a championship. Like, that's what's happening with Indiana, but you can't predict that. Usually guys wilt as the stage gets bigger and the lights get brighter. Indiana's guys, they're like seeds. They've gotten bigger and better with more light.
and I honestly think a lot of that it has to do with the mindset of Rick Carlisle and just
I
not
agree.
like because these everyone else besides the Pacers like views this as a huge mismatch. But if you from listening to the podcast and Bill Simmons and whatnot, if you're listening to guys that are in the arena and the way the Pacers are sort of handling the series is that they view themselves as like a team that absolutely belongs here and in their minds they should be the favorites. So they have like this what's the word? The
Internal confidence,
yeah, the those
belief.
guys that come in and have like irrational confidence. They have irrational confidence and that's huge. And but you look at like their names that are like playing really well for them. Like if you told me like, you know, 2 months ago that names like Aaron Neesmith, Andrew Nemhard. I mean, I've heard of T.J. McConnell, but never viewed him as like a
Frank,
champion.
can you imagine, like, to your point,
Benedict
and
Mathurin.
I apologize for cutting you off, but can you imagine when the playoffs started? Literally 2 months ago today, on April 12th, I said, hey, the NBA Finals is going to be determined by TJ McConnell, Andrew Nemhard, and Obi Toppin. The NBA Finals, you would have smacked me across the face and said, this podcast is over. We're never having a podcast again. I'll see you later. Right? Like, in a million years, you couldn't have predicted this. So, yes, right now, a lot of media members, a lot of pickers, a lot of common fan, like, we all look stupid. But this is something that's happening is literally unpredictable. So I don't feel that dumb because I think we're witnessing magic right now, Frank. Like, and that's why I'm still picking OKC. But at plus 190, I may sprinkle some money on it just because it wouldn't shock me anymore if Indiana continued to pull off these upsets. Indiana had no business beating the Cavs. Indiana should have beat the Knicks.
But
I
if
don't
the
think much more
Halliburton
to it.
shot misses in game one, it's a
It's
whole
a whole
different
different
series.
series. Like they've had, and you go back to the game two collapse against Cleveland. You go back to the games 2 and 5 comebacks against Milwaukee. Game one against New York. Game one against OKC. In fact, they have 5 comebacks of 15 or more points in the playoffs alone this season. You can't plan to go into games being down 15 in the fourth quarter and make a living off coming back. They've done it 5 times. It makes no sense.
And we'll see the true character and mentality of this Thunder team in game 4 on Friday. Like how SGA, who
Did not play well last night.
everyone is just crowning as the next best, next great thing in the NBA, how he handles, everything that's at stake for him in this game. Though the closest he's been to a championship, how does he handle it? And he might go out and score 50 points, and we'll know. But we'll get a lot of answers to a lot of questions on Friday. But I think it's either going to be a Thunder by like 25-point win, or it'll be Pacers by like 2. Like that's just the way the Pacers have been playing all postseason. They either get like destroyed or they win a really, really close up and down game by with staging a furious rally. So we'll see.
Last thing, one of the most impressive parts about Indiana is the composure they have in the fourth quarter. Never rattled, never scared. I saw a lot of tense, uncomfortable possessions from Oklahoma City in game four and at the end of game one. I agree with you. If OKC is going to beat Indiana in Indiana, it has to be because they've completely knocked them out by the start of the fourth quarter. It cannot be a repeat
What
of
is
games
what is
one or
completely
game
knocked out? At
three.
what point in the fourth quarter are you can you as a Thunder player or fan take a deep breath and be like, we got this? How many points do you have to be winning by?
I tweeted this out. I think you have to be up by 41 with 9 minutes left.
You're saying 40.
I think 40 is the where you could.
What's the real number?
I would normally say 15, but that's not enough. So I'm going to go 20 plus in the fourth. You have to be up 20 plus in the fourth quarter. They have not pulled off a 20-point comeback yet.
Fair
They've
enough.
done 19, but not 20.
So we don't have to get in all of Darius Garland. I just found it interesting in terms of the reporting because the Cavs tweeted they expect him to be ready by training camp, and then Shams tweeted that he's likely to miss the start of the season. So how, who's telling the
Uh,
truth?
the timeline's 4 to 5 months to resume basketball activities. 4 months is right around the start of training camp. 5 months is the first 7 games into the regular season. And the key word is resume basketball activities, Frank. He's supposed to be off his feet for 4 to 5 months. So no running, no cutting, no jumping. I think it's going to take him a couple weeks once he's able to resume basketball activities to build his cardio up to be able to play in an NBA game. I'd be surprised if we see him before December, in all honesty. So I think the Cavs are being optimistic. I think Shams was reporting more on the 5 month than the 4 month timeline. But if he can't do any cardio, he can't run, he can't jump, he can't shoot. That's not like a 2 week ramp up period. All of a sudden, you're back to playing. I think he's going to need a little more time. And I do think it impacts his trade value. I was not in favor of trading him to begin with. I think the Cavs are better with Darius and the trade packages I had seen floated around. None of them, I thought, made Cleveland better. You need more ball handlers. You need more playmakers. You need more creators in the playoffs. Not necessarily guys who can't do that, and Darius certainly can. So if you think you were going to trade him, this now makes him at a discounted price. And if you're going to trade a top 30 player in the league, Frank, you better get full value. Like if you want to trade Darius, wait till he's healthy, do it at the deadline. But to me, putting a discounted Darius on the trade block makes no sense.
So I don't understand. Like you see so many times in sports, teams are extremely careful in how they word things. They'll say, we'll reevaluate in 4 to 5 months, leave it open ended, and go from there. But the Cavs explicitly said full go by training camp. Like what? Why would you even put yourself in this situation where you have to backtrack on that? It makes no sense. Why
So
can't
it's
you just
funny
say
that you
reevaluate and just leave it open and see how he recovers and then make a statement? It makes no
it's funny.
sense.
It's funny you say that, Frank, because one of the biggest complaints that Cavaliers fans have with the Cavs is their lack of transparency with how they put out the injury reports. Darius Garland was questionable slash day to day for 2.5 weeks with a toe injury before he actually returned. Evan Mobley, DeAndre Hunter, they were all listed as questionable. They never put them as doubtful when they miss games. The Cavs list everybody essentially as questionable game time decision. And then that leads fans to believe, well, if they're really questionable to the game time decision, then maybe they'll play. And then when they don't play, people call them soft because you see people play through questionable injuries all the time, right? And how is Darius questionable for 2 weeks and not playing, missing 4 games? The Cavs, in my opinion, do themselves. I understand, like from a strategic standpoint, you don't want to give Indy a heads up on whether he's going to play, whether he's not. Jared Allen in the playoffs last year, same situation. He was questionable with the rib injury. Final 3 games against Orlando, all 5 games against Boston. Never played despite being listed as questionable. I think it'd be beneficial to the players for their public perception if the Cavs were just honest. Hey, Darius is out till we say he's not. Don't list him as questionable day in, day out, and allow the story to get legs. But they do that. It drives me nuts, Frank. And the fact that they put this timeline out there, I'd rather them leave it ambiguous too.
I mean, they can do whatever they want. It just there's I don't see the benefit in putting out something that's not necessarily going to be true. And as far as the playoffs go, like you see, every team does that during the playoffs. They'll say guys are questionable up until game time, and then they'll rule them out and say questionable game time decision. So like that's all gamesmanship. And then when it comes, especially in the playoffs, they know like whether guys are how healthy they are and whatnot. And it always comes out after the fact. They'll undergo surgery, like you're seeing with Garland, or you'll see how seriously hurt they actually are once the playoffs are over. But it's just during the offseason, like there's the competitive advantage for your team, unless you're trying to trade him, which I'm not going to get the whole conspiracy theories or trying to like send a message that he's going to be healthy, but who knows? Two quick things I just want to touch on really fast before we get to Shedeur Sanders is the tennis match between Carlos Alcaraz and Youngster. I know you didn't see it, but
Yeah, so this is all you. I'm going to bow out. It's all you.
everyone complains about pace of play in baseball especially, but even I can't sit through a 5.5 hour tennis match. And I did not this time. I turned it on in the third set when Alcaraz was down 2-0 just to see if he would be able to come back. And it was enthralling. It was great. I'm a huge fan of Alcaraz, and it was quite the spectacle. And he's such a showman. And I don't watch tennis at literally any other point in the year besides like the major championships, Wimbledon, French Open, and the U.S. Open. That's literally only the finals. That's it. That's all the tolerance I have for tennis. Because anyone who can sit through, 5-hour matches on a day in day out basis, like I pray for you. Just too much for me. As for the Yankees, Tori, this by the time our millions of listeners are listening to this, you'll probably be watching the Yankees lose to the Royals on Thursday night. Pablo Reyes is the single worst player I've ever watched. The guy's hitting 179 with 2 RBIs. How is he even on the roster? This guy is atrocious. Brian Cashman and Aaron Boone should be ashamed of themselves. Listen, I get you want to give Aaron Judge a day off. I know Jazz Chisholm, is made of glass and is always hurt, but my God, you can't do better than Pablo Reyes. The guy's an automatic out, consistently botching plays in the field. You can't tell me he's the best option for the Yankees at any position whatsoever. It's absolute catastrophe.
I'm gonna pivot that to Guardians thing real quick because it's all aligned in the same. Pablo Reyes is a Guardians player. Like, he's the perfect guy for the Guardians lineup right now. Frustrating, can't hit, makes errors. They have so many guys that are absolute zeros in their lineup, Frank. So I feel a lot less affected by it when it's one guy in the Yankees lineup as opposed to 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 in the Guardians lineup. But yeah, he's not very good, and Aaron Judge is freaking incredible. Absolutely incredible. Home run against Kansas City the night was just spectacular.
That's a whole other argument about like how home run distances are actually measured because you see,
I don't ever really believe it, but it's cool to see.
and they have it with the stat of the thing or exactly how far it went. But anyway, Shedeur Sanders, real quick. I saw you tweet about him. I've been listening to a lot of his media availability, and when you listen to Shedeur Sanders, he sounds like a 10-year veteran. He is so composed in front of the media, which is why it's so hard to believe that his interviews with teams, which only we've heard from reports, and no one's really come out and said he was the worst interview of all time. I just find it hard to believe, given how the family he's from, how composed he is in front of the media now. Because when you listen to him now, he sounds amazing. It's like, oh my God. So I've just been very impressed. Obviously, when you see the quarterback stats the Browns put up after
don't look at any of that's so misleading.
I know,
so
misleading. It's not like he's going out there. It would be a lot worse, like, Tim Tebow's situation where he's completing, 3 of 18 passes with 3 interceptions. Like, that would be really bad. But he's putting up good, like, I think there's a, granted, it means nothing if you're doing well, but if you're doing bad, then it's like, all right, that stands out. So he's not, going out there and, making a mockery of himself. He's,
from
based on
everybody.
stats,
From everyone who's been out there, and they practice the exact same time we're on the air. So I have not been out there in person. We've had someone on each and every day after every open media availability, rookie camp, OTAs, minicamp. They all say Shedeur looks 1,000% the part of an NFL quarterback. They've all seen bad Browns quarterbacks who do not look like NFL caliber quarterbacks. They say Shedeur 100% fits the mold. The reason those stats are so misleading, Frank.
right, 7-on-7 non-padded. I know.
No, not only that.
Guys aren't.
He hasn't got a single rep with the ones.
All right, whatever.
Shedeur's the only of the 3.
I don't want to get into
this. And we've gotten this argument on the show, and I'm not trying to start it again. When you just see the stats, it's like, oh, yes, those look better than this. But at the same time, some of the Gabriel, Pickett, and Flacco, they're going up against Denzel Ward and 11-on-11s you have against Myles Garrett. Shedeur's on the other field going up against the practice squad guys. So it should look even better by the numbers. But the thing I've been most impressed with by Shedeur, Frank, is what you alluded to earlier. We came into this whole process. Shedeur with the wrists, with the Rolexes, with the legendary chains, with the draft party, Dion being his father. You just expect him to be a certain way. And it's not even a bad thing. Like, I like quarterbacks to be a little cocky and boisterous. And I thought he was going to be much more like Baker Mayfield was than more like Jacoby Brissett is. And that's essentially the vibe I get from Shedeur so far. He is not an in-your-face kind of guy. He doesn't come across as cocky or arrogant whatsoever. He comes across as humble. He comes across as understanding of his situation and his place in the depth chart and on the pecking order so far. His teammates speak incredibly highly of him. The person we have gotten in front of the microphones in Berea over the last couple of weeks is a completely different person than I anticipated getting when the Browns drafted him in the 5th round. And part of the reason that we had heard he dropped was because of the bad interviews. And could you bring Shedeur in? And could he be a backup with all the attention and distractions that come along with Shedeur Sanders? And Frank, let me tell you this from someone who has now lived in the Shedeur world for over a month. The distractions that Shedeur brings are crazy. They are absurd. Our numbers are through the roof. And guess what? None of it is because of Shedeur. Shedeur brings nothing upon himself. He has been the model citizen. He's been a perfect angel. All the distractions that come with Shedeur come from this crazy fan base that adores Shedeur Sanders. And God forbid you say anything other than Shedeur is a god. I can say Shedeur looked good in practice today, and I'll be crucified because I didn't say Shedeur looked great. And the distraction that comes with Shedeur has zero to do with Shedeur Sanders. It has to do with the craziness that follows Shedeur that he can't control. And it's unfair to Shedeur because some of the criticisms of can you have a backup quarterback with that much attention and brings that much extra eyes, and I'll use the word distractions. I don't mean it in a bad way, but that much extra to the situation. That all those are real. That's real. But it's nothing to do with Shedeur himself. It's all the people that follow Shedeur creating that extra noise. And I do feel bad for Shedeur because he's been lumped into it when the truth is, Frank, in the month and a half we have seen Shedeur here in Cleveland, he has brought zero of it on himself.
So, in your mind, was the him falling in the draft and all of the rumors we heard about how terribly he interviewed, was that all a creation from someone who had a vendetta against him? Is this NFL teams being scared of the Dion distract? Which was my original theory, was that teams are wary of Dion possibly wanting to become coach of the team because of him being, Deion Sanders and always chiming in on everything that's going on in the world. That's the best theory I can have, because I find it hard to believe when you see how composed Shedeur is every time he's been in front of a microphone that he actually interviewed that poorly. I find that hard to believe. I think he's too smart, too well spoken. I genuinely believe that coaches picking up highly in the draft were wary of the shadow of Dion, and that's why he fell, not because of any character issues for Shedeur.
No, I don't think it had anything to do with Dion. I think he wasn't a
And what
first
was
round
it?
pick. I don't think he was the first round pick because of talent. Because if teams viewed
All
him
right,
as a
then
first
second or
round
third
pick
round
based,
then. But fifth round. You believe it was a fifth round?
just to hear me out. I think he fell to the first round because teams didn't view him as a first round talent.
Okay, fair enough.
People
All
have
right. So,
overlooked incredible character issues for first round talents. Then when you get into the second and third round, I think teams were scared of you taking a second, third round quarterback. 97 out of 100 times, that's a backup quarterback. They didn't want to deal with the extra attention, distractions, all the chaos that comes with Shedeur for your backup quarterback. It's part of the reason Tim Tebow was unable, other than Tim Tebow sucking at quarterback,
I mean, he
was
couldn't
never able to
throw.
get another real shot because your third tight end should not be getting any headlines and should not be the storyline in camp. And the storyline in camp, for better or worse, the lead story of our show every day right now is what did Shedeur do? Why isn't Shedeur getting first team reps? Kevin Stefanski has told us time after time. We're in the installation process. Don't worry about the depth chart. Shedeur will get his chance when it's time. All that stuff. And guess what the lead story on every Cleveland show, newspaper, radio show is? When is Shedeur going to get his reps? Why isn't he getting his reps? How did Shedeur? It's the only thing people care about, Frank. So I think part of the reason he fell is teams, frankly, didn't want to deal with that distraction.
I don't know.
And once again, he doesn't bring any of it upon himself. It is unfair to Shedeur. It's unfair. But
But
Frank, go look at any of my last 20 shows and look at the comments. I'm telling you, man, it's a crazy phenomenon. I've never seen fans of an individual player ride so hard for a guy and crap on the team he's on. Like
all right.
these
Last thing
Shedeur
before we
fans
go.
hate the
Who
Browns.
starts week one for the Browns?
Gun to my head, it should be Flacco. I think it'll be Pickett.
And does Shedeur start a game this season for the Browns?
Yeah, I think he starts 7.
7 games.
I think Pickett
Is
starts
it
3
injury
or
or
4.
performance?
Gabriel starts 4 or 5, and Sanders starts 5 or 6.
I hate that's a horrific viewpoint. Horrible.
That's what's
Terrible.
gonna happen. I'm telling you it's what's gonna happen.
All right, we're out of time. Now let's do it for this edition of Lucas Podcast. We'll be back next week for NBA Finals recap. Peace.
Peace.